So we're so excited to be back for another great video conversation for a pop-up grant with our partners at Whelan Engineering. And we want to give a big, resounding thank you shout out to Whelan Engineering for being such a wonderful partner on this initiative. Pop-up grants, they do nominations from both their sites in New Hampshire and in Connecticut. They shake that bowl, they draw out a nonprofit that gets a small grant from the Community Foundation of Middlesex County in Connecticut. And this time, we're going to talk to somebody that was nominated from the New Hampshire site. So Jennifer, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know this has definitely been an organization to catch your eye.
Yeah, yes. It definitely is close to my heart. Welcome, Helen. Welcome. Your organization, Old Dogs Go to Helen. I mean, it's definitely close to my heart because I have two dogs and I'm a dog lover. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your organization?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. My name is Helen and I'm the Helen in Old Dogs Go to Helen. I've been working with animals professionally. I'm a certified dog trainer through a different from my own business for 23 years. And in my work in dog training, the way I really started was working through shelters and working with shelter dogs and all of that. And us dog trainers and animal advocates tend to be one of those, bring your work home with you type of professions. And about 6 years, longer than now, 7 years ago, I lost at the time my very old senior dog. And I realized that I really missed the presence of a senior dog in my home. And working with the shelters all the time, of course, I would be bringing home adolescent foster dogs home and all of that. But this time I said, next time we get an old dog, I'll bring it home. And, lo and behold, 3 days after my dog had passed, the shelter messaged me and said, "Hey, we've got this really old, stinky, bald Yorkie thing. He's ancient. We need a foster for him." And I said, "Bring him over." So I brought him over. We brought him back to life. He ended up passing after about a year of renal failure and renal disease. And of course, I'm the kind of person that said, "Well, that was really sad, but now I want to do it again." And very slowly started to um, get these, the oldest, the sickest, the most medically needy dogs trickling in. And once people know that you are someone that will take the oldest, sickest, stinkiest, baldest dogs in, your phone really starts to ring because unfortunately there are a lot of them. And it started from one dog to two dogs to three, and the medical needs got more and more complex. And I would be sharing them on my business page, and people would ask, "We want to contribute to the costs of these dogs." And I said, "Well, I feel really weird about that." And lo and behold, long story short, I ended up, founding Old Dogs Go to Helen and becoming a 501(c)(3. And the need just increased and increased. And about 2 years ago, we ended up purchasing this home that we're on now so that we could take on more. We now have 19 senior and hospice dogs in our care. We also do senior and hospice livestock. So we have hospice horses, hospice
Oh
pigs,
my
hospice goats and
gosh.
sheep. We have hospice and senior parrots and cats. And so all we do really is take the old dying animals that are often the most discarded, and usually like the first to be euthanized when they end up going to shelters. And so we give them a soft landing. And now whether that's 24 hours or whether that is, 3 months, or we've had our longest have been here for over a year, but that's pretty much what we do. They get everything they need. It's in our home. So they get Disney movies on, and they can pee and poop on the floor if they need to. And they get food 24/7, an endless supply of chicken nuggets and medical care. And they just are loved very, very dearly for the end of their days.
Oh, that's so wonderful
Oh
that
my
you did that.
gosh.
I mean that
That's incredible.
yeah, that really is. Now, Helen, please tell me you have some volunteers that are helping you.
Yeah. Yes. So originally, it was my husband and I, and we were doing this in our living room. And at the time, we had a very young baby, Evelyn, who's now going to be 7, but she would be sort of running around. And, old senior dogs are incontinent. They can't always hold it. And it was getting quality of life for us was difficult because we had to clean up pee and poop to make sure our baby wasn't, it was too much.
Yeah.
So when we purchased this house and we started the sanctuary, we have this great separate space for the oldies where they can pee and poop wherever they need. And we have volunteers now. We're very careful. We have a small group of volunteers because unlike a regular animal shelter where they have more of a revolving door, our dogs are here permanently until they pass on. And that's a big ask for volunteers. But yes, we have volunteers that come, they help clean up the pee and the poop. They love up on them. They do vet trips or groomer trips and all of that. And we absolutely love them, but we don't rely on them. We make sure, what Jake and I really make sure is that if God forbid that all stopped, we would still be doing this just the two of us.
Now, do you have other people that you work with that they can bring some of these dogs into their homes too?
Yeah, that's a great question. Do we do foster adoptions? And we don't. The way that New Hampshire works is you need to be licensed to be doing adoptions out. And we find that the majority of the dogs that come to us have such a limited lifespan. They're very sick that we would feel really awful bringing them in and then putting them through another transition. So they spend their days here. But we work with local shelters, vets everywhere that really supply us with the dogs, quite frankly. A lot of shelters that get dogs that say, yesterday we got one from the Manchester Animal Shelter that said this dog is not adoptable. She's 14. She's got severe arthritis. She's blind in both of her eyes. And major dental disease, and we know she doesn't have long. They can't adopt her out, so that's what we're there for. So we don't adopt out and we don't foster. Again, it's much easier for us to keep the eyes on the dogs here and make sure that they're getting what they need. The only occasional, I guess, change to that would be like foster. We got hospice puppies. Sometimes we'll have someone take a hospice puppy because even a hospice puppy that's full of beans does not want to be in a room with 16 other old dogs that are like, please stop running around. So that's sometimes the exception.
Yeah.
Is there I would think, to your point, you would get a lot of phone calls. So do you have a maximum capacity? Because otherwise I would think you would probably just be inundated.
Yes,
and I'm sure you are inundated. Let me rephrase that. I am
Yeah.
sure you are inundated. What do you do? Because there has to be a place where you say we are full, like we really cannot take on another one at the moment.
Yes. So, that's a great question. At this point, we would say we are at capacity, right? We don't have room right now for any other dogs, because we also know we have a couple more, usually always coming. Sometimes it can take a week or two to get transports coming and going. So right now we would say we're at capacity. But we have pretty specific guidelines. We need to have the dogs be okay with other dogs and people because they live in a sanctuary with other dogs. They have to be okay with people and kids because they are our frequent, we have kids ourselves. We have volunteers and all of that. It sounds terrible, but they have to be in hospice. So we can't take dogs that have 5 or 6 years left to them because then that fills the spot for the hospice dogs that come. So yes, we absolutely reach capacity, but the other side to that is, as a result, we usually are revolving through dogs. We've lost 5 dogs already so far in March. So, it's a constant sort of door where we'll say, you're on the wait list. You can bring, when we get an owner surrender, they don't want to deal with the dog urinating in the house anymore. And I'll say, you've got to hold on. When we get a spot, we'll let you know.
Okay. And Helen, I saw on your website that you have different like videos to help train, people as they're going through this. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, in my professional career as a dog trainer, I realized that a piece of that is missing in our animals' lives is senior education. Some of the biggest reasons that we get dogs surrendered is people are not prepared for end of life care with their animals. It's too overwhelming. They don't want to deal with it. You go from an adult dog that you sort of had this routine with to now an elderly dog that's urinating everywhere or pacing in the middle of the night and any of that. And people, in many ways, they just push it away or they get rid of it. They don't want to talk about it. So I do a lot of courses on a good death, talking about quality of life, quality of death. I talk about the sunset years and how to work and live with senior animals. All of that stuff. And it's through No Monkey Business, but every person who signs up for that, it directly benefits our sanctuary. And that's a huge thing for us so that we can prevent more people calling us and saying, I can't do this anymore. Will you take this dog?
That's wonderful that you do that. Absolutely wonderful. Now, is there certain things that you need, if people, listening to this, can
Yeah.
help
What's
in
your
any
wish
way?
list?
Well, if you go to olddogsgotohelen.com, there we have a donate page, and you can see there we have a link to our Amazon wish list, and then you have a link there to donate. And I know a lot of people want to send stuff, things that we never run out of or need. We always need are things like paper towels or wipes and that kind of thing. But monetary donations are huge because so much of what we need you can't purchase.
Mhm.
Like they're all on prescription specialty diets. That's
Oh,
not stuff that you can order or have delivered. We actually have to order that through Heels to Home, the science diet website, and we
okay.
have to use funding to do that. Medications, vet bills, afterlife care, all of that stuff is veterinary related, and that's where the monetary donations are really, really important. I mean, we always say to people, look, if you want to send us a dog bed and some paper towels and all that stuff, that's great. But
Mhm.
financially, we are always needing help for food for the senior horses and vet bills for, and that's the stuff that you can't deliver to us. We have to go get it, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
No, that does. So I have to ask, having been raised with animals all my life and having animals of all sizes and kinds and watching many of them age gracefully and then go, but I can't imagine doing that on a daily basis. And I have such great admiration for you because I think it takes a really strong person to know that you are living with animals that have a very finite amount of time. Like this is a constant saying goodbye. How do you and your family, what do you do to stay within that place, but not let it really become sort of an overwhelming emotional piece?
It's a great question because sometimes I can say to you, I don't know. Some days are so much easier for me than others. The reality that I've come to face is that, we know that death is inevitable, right? For all of our animals, for everybody. And so I look at it as like the absolute best thing I can do is give these animals a good, peaceful goodbye. And so and I'd much rather take on the emotional toll of that than the emotional toll of knowing these dogs were dying in a shelter with people they didn't know. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
like it balances it out. But there are some months, there are some times that I will just say, I can't do this anymore. This is exhausting, or, my heart is broken. And then a day later, we will get a phone call and I can't leave that animal behind. So it's really about, for me, it's been a process of learning how to stretch my emotional muscle. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt and that my heart isn't a lot of the times just this fractured beating thing, but it means that I've really learned the benefits outweigh it. And, that was one of the main reasons that very recently, just last week, we got a call for a puppy with a twice broken jaw that needed emergency surgery. And we jumped right on that. The board was like, do it, because we needed a happy ending. We needed a dog that we could save, so to speak. A lot of the dogs we take in, we're saving, but we know we're not going to have for very long. And she's been so good for our heart, and she's going to stay. She's going to stay with us. She's going to be an advocate for what we do. And that's been really good for the kids and for us and all the volunteers to just sort of be like, okay, there are some that aren't just going to come in within 24 hours. We have to say goodbye.
Wow. I don't know about Abby and Jennifer, but literally all I can say is wow.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
It
you're just
truly,
amazing.
oh my gosh, the
You're
work you do
amazing.
is amazing. Your attitude about
Yeah.
embracing it is amazing. The best I can tell anybody to watch this is go to your website, and it's olddogsgotohelen.com.
Yes.
and learn more, because you are remarkable. And I have to say, I'm going to ask, I'll put you on the spot a little, and I don't mean to, but we do share these, as I mentioned at the top. We have a wonderful partnership with Whelan Engineering. They love this pop-up grant concept, and pop-up grants are small grants, but they're just a way to say, for someone to say, we're all thinking about this great nonprofit. But we also send this video link. And so if you have a message for Whelan and for your nominator, because that's how we're learning about all these incredible nonprofits that we've met, is people, somebody out there knows you, somebody out there put your name, your organization in a bowl for, as a possible nominate, as a possible recipient. And here we are.
Well, yeah, I would just say thank you so much, because, sometimes there are some days where it feels very lonely, when we're the ones that are doing doing this care and cleaning up the pee and poop, and everyone's like, oh, it looks so sweet, so fun. I'm like, you have no idea what we walk into at 5 o'clock in the morning with 15 hospice incontinent dogs. It's a lot of laundry. It's a lot of work. And so when we get these kinds of things, and it feels like there's that community support of not everybody can do this work, but getting that support bolsters my husband and I, that it's hard and it's heartbreaking sometimes, but knowing that there are people out there that are rooting for us makes a huge difference on our morale ability to continue doing it. Not necessarily just financially. The ability to be able to emotionally keep going is from these kinds of things. So thank you.
Oh,
Well, Helen, we want to give you a round of applause for all that you do.
Yes,
We
definitely.
appreciate it.
Yes, really. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to tell us about what you do and to be so incredibly inspiring. You really are. And your family is inspiring. I have to say that. Please, this is a family, this is a family venture. Obviously, it's right in your home. And we thank you so much for what you do. And we thank Whelan for helping to introduce you to us and to everybody who will watch this. So,
well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it so much.
Great.